Hey, folks. It's your boy, the Boss Economist, back with another fiery take on the absolute clown show that is our economic policy landscape. Today, we're diving headfirst into the dumpster fire of the dollar's latest belly flop, the Fed's spineless flip-flopping, and, surprise, surprise, yet another episode of government mismanagement that's got us careening toward a recession faster than you can say, quantitative easing. Buckle up, because this one's gonna burn hotter than a leveraged crypto portfolio in a bear market. Let's start with the headlines ripping through the financial press like wildfire. The US dollar is tanking, folks. Bloomberg's dollar gauge just hit its lowest level since April 2022, down a jaw-dropping 8% in 2025 alone. And why? Because the markets are buzzing with rumors that President Trump is itching to replace Fed Chairman Jerome Powell with someone who'll roll over and slash interest rates faster than a Black Friday sale at Walmart. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump might announce Powell's replacement as early as September or October 2025, and traders are already betting on 66 basis points of rate cuts by year-end, up from just 51 basis points last week. Now, let's break this down for the regular folks out there, because, trust me, this isn't just some Wall Street jargon fest. When the dollar drops like this, it's not just a number on a screen. It means your grocery bill gets pricier, your gas tank costs more to fill, and that dream vacation to Europe. Yeah, good luck affording that when the euro's laughing in your face. But here's the kicker, this isn't some natural economic cycle. Oh no, this is a government-engineered disaster, courtesy of political meddling in monetary policy and a fiscal strategy that's about as coherent as a toddler's tantrum. Let's peel back the layers of this economic onion, shall we? From the surface-level drama to the deep-rooted rot, here's how it all ties together. On the surface, we've got the Trump-Powell cage match, and it's straight out of a reality TV script. Trump's been on a warpath, screaming from the rooftops that Powell needs to cut rates yesterday because, apparently, borrowing costs are too high for Uncle Sam. Never mind that the US government's fiscal deficit is ballooning, projected to hit $1.9 trillion in 2025, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Never mind that tariffs and trade wars are already jacking up costs for American consumers, with the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimating that Trump's proposed tariffs could add $1,700 annually to the average household's expenses. No, let's just blame Powell and strong-arm the Fed into slashing rates, because who cares about inflation, right? Here's the deal, folks, when the president starts treating the Fed like his personal piggy bank, you're not just undermining central bank independence, you're setting the stage for economic chaos. Rodrigo Cattrall from National Australia Bank hit the nail on the head when he said, Trump's nomination will amp up the pressure, to the point where we could have a shadow Fed chair before Powell steps down in May 2025. Translation: Powell's already a lame duck, and the markets are betting on a new Fed chair who'll bend the knee to Trump's demands. Potential replacements like Kevin Warsh or Kevin Hassett. Let's just say their track record suggests they're more likely to prioritize political loyalty over economic stability. Now, let's zoom out a bit. The dollar's nosedive isn't just about Trump's tantrums, it's a symptom of broader market panic. Traders are freaking out, and for good reason. The Bloomberg dollar gauge dropped 0.2% in a single day, and the ripple effects are hitting US Treasuries, too. Why? Because the market's staring down a triple threat. Uncertainty over tariffs, Trump's trade wars are back, baby, and they're already threatening to jack up inflation. Just look at the data. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce reported in 2025 that tariffs have already increased the cost of imported goods by 15% since 2023, and that's before the next round kicks in. A ballooning fiscal deficit, the CBO's latest projections show U.S. debt to GDP ratio climbing to 106% by the end of 2025, up from 99% in 2023. That's not just unsustainable, it's a ticking time bomb for investor confidence. Fed policy flip-flops, with traders now pricing in aggressive rate cuts, the Fed's credibility is on life support. Remember, this is the same Fed that spent 2023 and 2024 hiking rates to fight inflation, only to potentially reverse course because of political pressure. Ignatius Pang from Union Bancaire Privy was spot on when he said the dollar's weakness is an opportunity to diversify away from U.S. assets. Translation: smart money is getting the heck out of Dodge. Now, let's get to the real meat of the issue, the deep, systemic rot that's driving this whole mess. The government's mismanagement of the economy is nothing short of criminal, folks. Let's connect the dots. 1. Fiscal irresponsibility. The U.S. government spending spree is out of control. According to the U.S. Treasury, federal spending hit $6.8 trillion in fiscal year 2025, while revenues lagged at $4.9 trillion. That's a $1.9 trillion deficit in a single year, folks, and it's not like we're investing in infrastructure or education to boost long-term growth. Nope, a huge chunk of that is going to debt servicing, $850 billion in interest payments alone, per CBO estimates. And here's the kicker, if the Fed caves and cuts rates, borrowing costs might drop temporarily, but it'll just encourage even more reckless spending. It's like giving a shopaholic a new credit card with a 0% teaser rate, disaster waiting to happen. 2. Trade policy madness. Trump's tariff obsession is another government-made disaster. The American Action Forum estimated in 2025 that tariffs have already cost U.S. consumers $79 billion in higher prices since 2018, and the latest round could double that. Meanwhile, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office reported a 12% drop in U.S. exports to China in 2024, thanks to retaliatory tariffs. This isn't winning at trade, it's shooting ourselves in the foot and calling it a victory lap. 3. Monetary policy meddling. And then there's the federal look. I'm no fan of Powell's waffling, but the real villain here is the government's relentless interference. Central bank independence isn't just some ivory tower concept, it's the backbone of economic stability. When politicians start dictating monetary policy, you get hyperinflation, currency crises, and recessions. Just look at history. In the 1970s, political pressure on the Fed led to stagflation, with inflation peaking at 14.8% in 1980, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Fast forward to today, and the Fed's already fighting inflation that hit 6.2% in 2024, per the latest CPI data. If they slash rates now, you can kiss price stability goodbye. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, recession risks. The government's mismanagement is pushing us closer to the edge, and the data doesn't lie. Just look at the latest economic indicators. 1. Yield curve inversion. The 2-year and 10-year Treasury yield curve inverted again in June 2025, a classic recession predictor. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, every U.S. recession since 1955 has been preceded by a yield curve inversion, with an average lead time of 12-18 months. Do the math, folks, we're on borrowed time. 2. Consumer confidence plummeting. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index dropped to 92.3 in June 2025, down from 98.7 in May. Why? Because Americans are getting hammered by higher prices, stagnant wages, and fears of job losses. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that real wages, adjusted for inflation, fell by 1.2% in 2024, and 2025 isn't looking any better. 3. Manufacturing contraction. The ISM Manufacturing Index slipped to 46.8 in May 2025, signaling contraction for the third straight month. Tariffs, supply chain disruptions, and a strong dollar have gutted American manufacturing, and the government's response. More tariffs and tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy. Brilliant. Put it all together, and you've got a recipe for a full-blown economic meltdown. And who's to blame? Not the Fed, not the markets, but the government. Their fiscal irresponsibility, trade policy insanity, and meddling in monetary policy are the root causes of this mess. And the worst part? They're doubling down on the same failed strategies, expecting different results. Einstein called that insanity, folks, and I'm inclined to agree. Now, let's bring this home for the regular folks and the finance pros watching. For the average Joe and Jane, this dollar drop and looming recession mean one thing: your cost of living is about to skyrocket, and your savings are at risk. Inflation's already eating into your purchasing power, and if the Fed slashes rates, it'll only get worse. My advice? Start hedging. Look into inflation-protected assets like tips or even gold, which is up 18% in 2025, per Kitco News. For the finance pros, this is a wake-up call. Matthew Hawk from Wilson Asset Management said it best: Powell's influence is waning, and the incoming Fed chair is likely to tilt dovish. That means volatility, folks. Diversify your portfolios, short the dollar if you dare, and keep an eye on emerging markets. They're starting to look a lot more attractive than U.S. assets right now. Here's the bottom line, folks: the U.S. economy is on life support, and the government's the one pulling the plug. Their reckless spending, tariff tantrums, and Fed bashing are driving us straight into a recession, and the dollar's nosedive is just the tip of the iceberg. If we don't demand accountability, real fiscal discipline, sane trade policies, and an independent Fed, we're all gonna pay the price. So, wake up, America, because the economic reckoning is coming, and it's got the government's fingerprints all over it. That's all for today, folks. If you're as ticked off as I am, smash that like button, share this video, and let's get the word out. This is Boss Economics World, where we call out the clowns running the circus. See you next time, unless the economy implodes first.